Black clouds burst around a formation of Allied bombers, flak tearing wings apart, engines burning, men screaming over the intercom as steel fragments sliced through the fuselage. On the ground, the crews firing those shells knew their own odds were no better. Only 1 in 5 would survive the war. And at the center of it all stood a single gun, the German 8.8 centimeters. A weapon so versatile, so feared, it became both the deadliest tank killer and the most terrifying anti-aircraft gun of World War II. How did one weapon dominate the battlefield from the skies to the desert sands? The Treaty of Versailles said no guns, no tanks, no aircraft. But paper bans don't stop ambition. Germany kept designing in secret, hiding projects behind civilian fronts, testing prototypes abroad, always preparing for the war everyone knew was coming. The First World War had proved planes were no sideshow. They started as scouts, ended as bombers. By the 1930s, new designs promised altitudes and payloads that machine guns couldn't touch. Germany needed something stronger. Krupp engineers got the order: build a cannon that could reach bombers at impossible heights, fire fast, and still be mobile. What they produced was the 8.8 centimeters Flak 18. It fired high-velocity shells fused to explode at set altitudes, showering bombers with steel. A direct hit split a plane apart. A near miss shredded engines or crews. Mounted on a cruciform carriage, it could swivel 360 degrees, elevate nearly vertical, and still drop its barrel low enough to threaten ground targets. 7 tons, 10 men to crew, semi-automatic breech. Mobility for blitzkrieg. It was built for the sky, but in Spain, 1936, it revealed something else. German volunteers brought it to the Civil War. It downed planes, yes, but also cracked bunkers and, to everyone's shock, annihilated tanks. Armor of the 1930s couldn't stop it. One shot meant one burning wreck. German commanders had asked for an anti-aircraft gun. What they had was something far more. By 1939, Germany entered the war with 2,600 of them. More than Britain, more than America. The monster was ready. Germany invaded Poland in 1939 with over 2,600 flak guns, more than twice Britain's arsenal. On paper, they were anti-aircraft cannons. In practice, they became something else. The Flak 36 brought a modular barrel, steel shields, and faster setup. The Flak 37 added a central fire control system, rangefinders, radar, and an analog computer linking dozens of guns to fire in unison. For the 1930s, it was disturbingly advanced. But with German air superiority, crews turned their barrels downward. French Char B-1S and British Matildas shrugged off 37mm fire. The 88 tore through them at ranges no other gun could touch. The lesson came at Arras, May 1940. British Matildas smashed into Rommel's division. Outgunned, he ordered his 88s forward. Within minutes, the tanks burned. The counterattack collapsed. From then on, the 88 was never just flak. It was sky and ground, terror in both directions, a legend in the making. North Africa was wide open country, sun, sand, and endless sight lines. Perfect terrain for the 88. In the desert, tank battles were often decided before either side even closed the distance. British crews learned this the hard way. Their tanks advanced in confidence, only to be stopped cold by invisible shots from 2 kilometers away. When the crack of an 88 echoed, it usually meant one thing: a tank was already dead. The gun had every advantage. Its high velocity gave it a flat trajectory, so gunners didn't guess at range. German optics were clear and deadly. A camouflaged 88 was almost invisible until it fired, and by then, it was too late. Rommel used them as ambush weapons. British columns pushed forward, expecting to brush aside lighter armor, only to drive into 88s. Within minutes, Matildas and Crusaders burned. Survivors spoke of hopelessness. Their shells bounced harmlessly, while German fire punched straight through. This wasn't just firepower, it was psychology. Every advance carried the shadow of unseen destruction. By 1942, the Allies feared the desert sniper as much as the Afrika Korps itself. The 88 wasn't just a support weapon anymore. It was central to German tactics. In the open desert, it became the hand of fate, unseen, precise, and merciless. When Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, its armored spearheads tore deep into Soviet territory. At first, the 88s weren't needed. Then came the shock. The T-34 T-34 and KV-1. Sloped armor, heavy plating, guns that outmatched most German tanks. Standard 37mm and 50mm shells bounced off harmlessly. Panic spread. The call went out, bring up the 88s. Crews dropped barrels, loaded armor-piercing rounds, and opened fire. At 2 kilometers, the shells ripped through Soviet armor. For a time, it was the only weapon the infantry trusted. Their life insurance. But the Eastern Front gave no mercy. Snipers hunted flak crews. Artillery zeroed in. Aircraft strafed them. Every shot revealed their position, and every reveal brought fire back. Losses mounted. Yet without the 88, many German advances would have stalled. Out here, it wasn't just a gun. It was survival itself. By late 1942, the 88 was no longer just a towed gun. It was reborn inside steel monsters. The Tiger I entered the war carrying the KWK-36, an 88 adapted for tank combat. Its combination of heavy armor and devastating firepower terrified Allied crews. A Tiger could kill a Sherman or T-34 at 2 kilometers, long before its target was even in range to fire back. Tank destroyers followed. The Nashorn, the Elephant, and later the Tiger II, armed with the even more powerful Pak-43. These weapons gave Germany unmatched long-range killing power. Allied crews told stories of friends destroyed without ever spotting the source of the shot. But the Tigers and their kin were never invincible. They were few in number, slow to build, and often plagued by mechanical breakdowns. Allied production dwarfed German output. For every Tiger prowling the battlefield, dozens of Shermans and T-34s rolled out of factories. Yet the legend stuck. To Allied tankers, the word 88 meant dread. Not just a gun, but death at long range, waiting in ambush. The Tiger's teeth bit deep, but not deep enough to change the course of the war. By 1943, the air war had turned. Allied bombers came day and night, hammering German industry. The 88s were dragged back into their original role, the shield of the Reich. They were everywhere, in fields on city outskirts, guarding factories. Over 1.2 million men and women served in flak units, nearly half the Luftwaffe. Batteries hurled tens of thousands of shells skyward. Early in the war, it took 4,000 rounds to bring down a bomber. By 1944, with Allied countermeasures, it took 16,000. Still, the black clouds of flak shredded aircraft, killing thousands of airmen or forcing them to bail out over German soil. But it was a deadly exchange. Flak crews became prime targets. Fighter bombers strafed their positions. Cluster bombs rained down. Survival rates plunged below 50%. For the Allies, flak was a nightmare. For the crews, it was a death sentence. As Allied bombers closed in, Germany built monuments of defiance, the Flak Towers. Berlin, Hamburg, Vienna, each city got colossal concrete fortresses. Walls 3 meters thick, strong enough to withstand direct hits from 500-kilogram bombs. On their rooftops, twin 128mm guns thundered, supported by 88s and rapid-firing 20 and 37mm cannons. Below, inside the labyrinth, civilians sheltered, hospitals ran, ammunition was stored. They were part anti-aircraft battery, part fortress, part bunker city. The towers spat fire into the skies, but were too few to protect German airspace. Allied bombers simply went around them. By 1945, they became last-stand citadels. Some garrisons fought until surrender, their guns silent only when the Reich itself collapsed. Today, a handful still stand, grim reminders of the lengths Germany went to shield its cities from the storm above. By war's end, Germany had built more than 21,000 88s. They destroyed thousands of tanks, downed thousands of aircraft, and became one of the most feared weapons of the Second World War. But their power came at a terrible cost. Flak crews suffered staggering losses. In some units, barely 1 in 5 survived. The gun's fire control systems, its mobility, its precision, all were ahead of their time. They foreshadowed the missile batteries and radar networks of the Cold War. Even in silence, the 88 shaped the future of air defense and armored warfare. Today, the survivors sit in museums or rust in forgotten fields. To some, they're just steel relics. But for those who faced them, whether behind the breach or in the skies above, the 88 was never just a gun. It was fear, fire, and fate. The 88 was more than steel and firepower. It was a symbol of industrial ingenuity, of battlefield terror, and of the human cost etched into every trigger pull. For the Germans who served it, the gun was both a shield and a grave. For Allied crews, it was the black puffs in the sky that haunted every mission, the weapon that could reach them at 26,000 feet or tear through armor miles away. In the end, the 88 did not win Germany the war, but it defined it. A weapon remembered not for victory, but for its fearsome reputation, its toll on human lives, and the way it forced both sides to adapt. If this story left you thinking, share it. History lives only if it's remembered. Which part of the 88's story shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more stories that bring World War II to life, like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss the next chapter.